All right, let's pray. Father, we love you. We praise, Lord, bless tonight as we spend time, Lord, just looking at what you have for us tonight, Lord. Once again, Lord, exploring the geography and the archaeology of the Bible. We love you a lot in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. We have made our way, kind of zigzagged our way through the nation of Israel. We've got ourselves down to about halfway through the Dead Sea. We're going to back up and look at the Dead Sea tonight. But we made our way down to here. We were up in Jerusalem. Jerusalem should be like right there. And then we're going to make our way down to Mamre and Hebron. Okay, this is where we're going. And then we're going to zigzag over here and look at the Dead Sea before we keep moving. So we're going to start off with Mamre. Now, this is an important site right here. This is before Hebron was really on the biblical map. But Mamre was the place that Abraham set up his tent. We have this in Genesis 13, Genesis 14, and then Genesis 18 tells the story about him. He has set up his tent near the oaks of Mamre. There's one place that this was at, the oaks of Mamre, and this is where God shows up. The Trinity, all three show up, and they are telling him a couple things. One of the things they're telling him is that you're going to have a child. And this is where his wife laughed. Can we at old age have this joy again? And so then the angel said to Sarah, why did you laugh? And then she did what sometimes women do. She lied. And she says, I didn't laugh. He said, oh, indeed you did. And this child that's going to be born, you know what his name is going to be? Laughter. Isaac's name means laughter. And so that happens in this spot that I'm going to show you here in just a minute. And then as they begin to leave, heading towards Sodom and Gomorrah, that we'll see probably next time, Sodom and Gomorrah heading in that direction. So where are you going? We're going to Sodom and Gomorrah. And this is where that conversation happens with Abraham and God. You know, well, what if there's 50 there that are righteous? Would you kill everybody if there's 50 righteous? Oh, no, if there's 50, then I'll spare it. Well, what if there's 45? Well, if there's 45, I'll spare it. Well, what if there's 40? What if there's 30? What if there's 20? Be patient with me, Lord, one more time. If there's 10, will you spare it for 10? And he says to him, yes, if there's 10 in Sodom and Gomorrah, then I will spare it. And I think Abraham went and go, got this thing. There's got to be 10 there. Lot's there. His family's there. There's got to be 10. Was there 10? There wasn't. And we know the story. So they're all wicked. Yes, it was. And so Mamre, now this was a major site going back to the time of Herod, going back to the time of Constantine with the churches that the Helena had established, and then after that. And now there's a school back here with a bunch of screaming kids. It's fenced in, so they don't let tourists really get here. And this is where the oak trees of Mamre were. And what we see here is we see the wall that Herod built. Okay, and we know that Herod built this wall. Not only do we know that Herod built this wall because of history, and we know how accurate that is, for this piece. But you also see the Herodian stone. Remember, a stone that Herod did, he always picture framed it. And so you see these stones that are there, and just kind of earmark, that Herod's fingerprints are on this thing. His signature is on this thing. So Herod had built, because this is an honored site, Herod had built a retaining wall all the way around it to kind of mark this. This is where the oak trees, the terebinth tree or the oak trees of Mamre were at. This is where Abraham met with God, was here. Now again, almost all tours bypass this because you really can't, you got to jump a fence to get into it. It's a little rough to get into. But this area right here, now what you're seeing right here is you're seeing the ruins of a church that was there. So there's a church, there's a Byzantine church, Constantine, and then after, the 300s and after, there was a church to commemorate this site. There's a well there, and there's some great big circles that are here, several of them, to where the trees were at. The big trees of Mamre, This is a well. So literally right here somewhere is where this event took place in our Bibles, in the book of Genesis, right there, which is very, very cool. And you can see this. You can see the well there. So you know he camped out right here. You're standing on the ground that this event took place. And this is about a mile, what is it, like a mile and a half from Hebron. Okay, and then one year there was snow, and you can kind of see there. You can see one of these you can see where the tree was at. Right, there's a few of these that have the earmark where the tree was at. There was actually a tree. There was actually a big tree back over here. I should have got a better picture of that. There's a big monster tree that was there. So you know, okay, you got trees here. You know he's camped out right in here. This is the area that's spotted for attention in this site right here. And so, man, wouldn't it be cool to camp out there? This is where Abraham met with God right there. Cool, huh? And you have the well that's there, so you know that, and it's called Abraham's well, and it's now got a bunch of garbage in it and stuff, and it is literally a place that just nobody pays attention to anymore. We got to remember the stories of the Bible. This should be a spot that people stop and tell this story, and yet they all blow past this. Hebron's a little bit more difficult to get to, and if you go to Israel tours, it's not always that you get to go to Hebron. The reason is, and I think I told you last time, the reason that we tell people is because it's a little bit more dicey as far as the political atmosphere of there, and that is actually not really true. The reason is because it's so far out of the way that it's going to eat up a day, and for touring, you have so many days, and you want to hit the best that you can hit. So but between here is you see some of the wine vineyards that are there. It's a beautiful region. The wine vineyards. They're there, the wine grapes. Not that I know too much about that, but there's some good wineries there. I actually showed you when we were up at the Golan Heights. For you that have been with us for these 25 years doing this, I showed you the map of up in the north of Israel, that's where all the wineries are. You guys, anybody remember that? Anybody remember that night? We drank wine and we talked about the wineries there. Remember that? See, you guys missed out. Yeah, you don't come, you miss good stuff. All right, so you go past this, getting into Hebron, mile and a half. Between Mamre and Hebron, you have these fields, and then you get to this big city of Hebron. And what we're after in Hebron is this building right here. Circle it so I wouldn't miss it. Is this building. Now, this building was built by Herod the same time the temple was built in Jerusalem. This lasted. The temple did not last. This building dates all the way back to that time period, the Herod the Great. And as you look at this thing, it actually, if you were looking at this section right here and wasn't looking up to see what's above it, you would think this is the temple, because this looks exactly like the same structure as the temple. The pinnacle of the temple. Remember that? What it looks like? Okay, this is a little shorter, but it's the same kind of structure. This is what Herod was building. What he's doing here is he's putting a structure over a famous cave. That cave is the cave of, what is it? The patriarchs, amen. What's another name for it? That is true right there. Machpelah, the cave of Machpelah. So this is the cave. Now Hebron, let me get a couple things on Hebron here. Hebron is where, now this is going to come into play. Do not miss when we finish this series in a few weeks. I'm going to go right into the book of Joshua, because one of the stories in Joshua is about this town. After they conquered Israel, they came in and conquered, all the people that is in Israel, and they came in through Joshua. When it was all done, Caleb wanted a specific town because, it was lush, it was green, it had some benefits that way, but the Anakim was there. This is where the giants were at. And this guy is an old guy that wants to fight. He goes, give me Hebron, because that's where the Anakim are. That's where the Nephilim are. Do you know that? Do you know about that? You'll learn about it when we go through Joshua. But here, and this is where this was at, there in Hebron. So, but then it also became a city of refuge. I'm going to go in tongues. Refuge. I'm going to go in French here in a minute. I might need your help. A refuge. You know what the cities of refuge are? All the way through the land, there is these cities that are there that are the cities that if you not if you purposely kill somebody, but if you accidentally kill somebody, the cities of refuge are a place, and there's other things, but this is what they're known for, is that it's a place you could go and be safe, right? The cities of refuge. This was because if you killed my brother, I am obligated to kill you. I don't have a choice. It's all part of the code, is that you kill my brother, even accidentally, then the avenger of blood will come after you. So the cities of refuge were the place that you could go, and it was safe for you to go there. Again, see in Joshua, we'll talk about that, the cities of refuge, right? They are all praying for something that makes a mom very nervous. They're all praying for the death of the high priest, because at the death of the high priest, everybody gets released. It's all cleared out. So there's the legend of the moms bringing baked goods and stuff stop praying for the death of my son, And so, I'll tell you all those stories when we get to Joshua. But that is there in Hebron. Also, what is there is a cave. When Sarah died, when she died, Abraham was looking for a place to bury his wife. And there was a cave there on this land. And so he went to the owner and says, let me buy this cave. And so he got this cave, the cave of Machpelah. It became the cave that Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Rebekah, Jacob, and Leah are all buried within that cave. And they're probably still there to this day. All right? Just saying. We'll see some of that as I go in through it with you. All right, so you have this outer part of the cave. You can kind of see here, there is a cave opening right there that's been sealed up. This is a place that I absolutely want. If I lived in Hebron, I would already been underneath this thing. I guarantee you. I'd have already figured a way. Now years of the 1500s, they sealed this thing up, but they couldn't have sealed it up that much where you can't figure out a way in this thing. All right, and I'll show you a way in, but you got to be a very skinny, small person to get in. They did drop somebody down in this cave, and I'll tell you about that. But here's one of the openings of the cave of Machpelah, and again, it's all been sealed up, but you can see where it was at. This monument, this structure, is directly over the cave underneath it. Right? And here you have the Christians make pilgrimages here because of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You have the Jewish people here. They have a whole section of it, the Jewish people, and the Muslims come here to pray. And it's interesting. We were there at one point where there is a huge horn that goes off, and that is the time for them to shift. The Jews are to move away from the building, and the Muslims come in, and then they pray. And then there's another horn that goes off, and then they switch. And so they've learned to work with each other that way, and they all have different sections of these buildings. And yet there is, so that's where they say, some say, well, there's arguments there. I tell you what, there's more fist fights in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre than there is in this place. All right, Church of the Holy Sepulchre, they're always swinging on each other. All right, so, and if you were here, was it last week, 2 weeks ago? You know about the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. You go inside of this thing, and you can go inside, as a tourist, go into one section of it. If you're a woman, they make you put on these. This is a terrible picture. They put on these little hoods, which is kind of weird. All right, we don't have to do anything, but the gals have to wear these little hood things. It's a whole robe that you have to put on. And there's a different in cultures with humility for women and all that. So, has anybody been to Hebron? Has anybody been to inside this thing? Okay. All right, so it is something weird when you walk in there. If you don't know what you're going to see, as far as all the gals dressed in these things, you go, that's kind of weird. Almost look, in our mind, the Western mindset, you go, that's kind of looks like a satanic robe there. But that's not at all what it is. It's just showing respect and whatever. It's not a big deal. But what they have inside of this thing is these structures right here. And for everyone that I just mentioned, for Abraham, for Sarah, for Isaac, for Rebekah, for Jacob, for Leah, every one of them has this right here, and this is where they're praying. Now, this is not their tomb. Here's another one. Here's Rebekah's. There's Isaac's. There's Abraham. There's Sarah's. All right, and there's Jacob's. What this is this, and this is the same thing with Joseph's. When we were looking at Joseph's back some time back. We were up in Samaria. It's the same thing. They're not buried in this. If you were to move this aside and dig straight down, now here you're going to have to dig down probably about 20 feet. Straight down, that's where it's at, right? It's not in this thing, but it's marking straight down is where this is at. It's kind of like the pyramid at the Louvre that has Mary Magdalene buried straight down. Did you see that movie? How many know what I'm talking about? How many have no clue what I'm talking about? Good. That's pretty normal. About half of you don't have a clue. All right, so Mary Magdalene is not buried down there. That's a stupid movie that had a whole bunch of inaccuracies. All right, so I'm always quoting movies. That's weird. I should read my Bible more. And so it's interesting because all these patriarchs are honored by Christians, Muslims, and Jews. And so you'll find all three of them there in this place praying. You'll find Christians praying, Muslims praying, and you'll find Jewish people praying. Okay, and the Jewish people and the Muslims have learned to shift gears. It's your turn, now it's your turn, and they've done fairly well there. Now it's interesting that in this there is a opening inside. It's right here. In this opening, you can see everybody always goes over here because you want to look down in it. It's like, kids, get your head out there. I want to get a good picture of this. All right, they're all looking in there. Because in this, if you open that up, that is a straight shot straight down to the tombs that are down there. That's what they've always thought, and it is true to a certain degree. So in the 1960s, the Israeli army had control of this building. So it was at night, they got together, guard the doors, we don't want this big fight, and they dropped a 12-year-old girl down there with a camera. Okay, and so this is pretty famous. Dropped her down there with a camera. Now get pictures of that. Now we kind of have a map from Crusader era and stuff, what's down there. And as far as she was able to get, she didn't get very far. You can see right here, she was able to get to see the tunnel. Now this tunnel goes down and then it was sealed off. It was sealed off, and on the other side is where the tombs are at, right? And it's like, past that, go past this tunnel, go on the side of this is where those guys are buried, all right? And they're probably, why wouldn't they still be there, all right? So that's kind of cool. I think somebody should go there and help these people. Really, that's a major treasure. I don't know, the planet Earth is going to be pretty toasted in the millennial reign of Christ. This world's going to be pretty toasted. But if that is still there, let's go over there and check it out. There's a couple places I want to check out. There's also a group that says they have the Ark of the Covenant. Where's that at? In Africa. Where's that at? Africa someplace. Ethiopia. There's a group that said there's only one guy guarding it. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And they say, generation after generation, they have the Ark of the Covenant. And there's only one old, wrinkled guy that's guarding that thing. That makes no sense whatsoever. Come on. Go get that thing. If that's the Ark of the Covenant, let's go look in it. Well, I'm not going to look in it because your face melts off. But, But wouldn't that be cool to find this Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all their tomb? Well, you see there as you walk around, you see there's prayer rooms, there's study rooms. These guys are all getting together and arguing the Torah, and there's study places. There's a police station that's there that's kind of keeping the peace between the Muslims and the Christians that are there. All right, so you have this. I want to keep moving here. We still got a lot to cover. So Mamre, okay, we were at Bethlehem, Jericho, Jerusalem, Mamre. Now remember that now? That's the place where Abraham set up his tents. It's a place that's it's not really a touristy area today, and yet you see the place where that event took place. When you read in your Bibles, you kind of get a visual of what that was kind of looked like. There was a well right there. You get down to Hebron, the cave of Machpelah, right, where the patriarchs are buried, right? So let's go over the Salt Lake now. Let's go to the Salt Lake. It's kind of anticlimactic for you that live in Salt Lake City, all of us, because we have our own personal Salt Lake. But did you know this Salt Lake is this one here in Israel is twice as salty as ours. Nothing lives in this thing. And we got nasty worms that live in ours, right? Brine shrimp. That's nasty. But here nothing lives in this one. There's a lot more salt content here. This is 15 times more saltier than the ocean. And so you have this very therapeutic mud. It's mud, girls. It's mud. All right. You see these people just slathering themselves with mud. All right. Give me some of the mud from the Dead Sea. There's Kim. That's one of our, it shows the mystery director there. But here you can buy all kinds of mud products. All these things in the Dead Sea. One of the things that's happening with the Dead, in Qumran, we're going to get over there. Mount Nebo. All right. That's where Moses was taken. But one of the things you notice there is that as you drive by 1904, there's a line. This is where the water line was at in 1904. All right, now let's turn around. So that's where the water line is. Let's turn around and see how far it is. Now, this is where that water line was at. Look how far the water is. Now, there's something that's happening in our generation. It's receding very quickly because now you get to things like this. Here's a dock. Here's like a boat ramp right there from 1984, and it's still, look how far the water is. It's really receding. This is not very long ago. This was a place where you could come in and bring your boat and get on the boats right here. Look at the difference. And so this is kind of, if you're in tune with what's going on in Israel, this is a huge concern. Is this thing seems to be really drying up. It wasn't long ago, taking this picture, wasn't very long ago, that, and this is a terrible pixelated picture, but here the hotel, this is the Leonardo Hotel there on the end of the Sea Galley of the Dead Sea. And it was, you just go outside right there, and right there is the water. Right there is the water. Now you have to take a little, they got a little train now that they take you down to the water. Right? And you can see this thing is receding, and this is only in the last 10 years. This thing is going very, very quickly. It's starting to really, dry up. But you see the salt there, and some of the reason why it's drying up because they're using it for industry. They've got it sectioned off, and they're using it because the salt is worth a lot of money, the mud's worth a lot of money, and so you have these companies in there, and they're sectioning this thing off, and they're physically drying it up because they want the nutrients out of it. They want the minerals out of it is what they want. And so some of it's a man-made disaster. Now, if you want to see some of these chunks right here, in one of these cases, I pulled a big chunk off and put it out there. All right? And if you want to open it up and lick it, that's fine. It's salt. All right? So, salt. It's just like here. You can, you float. Don't get it in your eyes. You see all kinds of, I think me and Joey went last time. I think it's the last time I was in it. Me and you were there, huh? I remember that. Yeah. But normally, this is I've been going to Israel for a very long time. Normally, this is what I would do. Okay. Look, I'm pretty young there, and I'm really fat there. Look at that. Here we all just, when those idiots get done in that water, so. But one thing with this thing receding so quickly, one of the things that's happening is and these are interesting, these big old holes that are coming. And the interesting thing is that this right here, many of these is fresh water. But it's devastating all as the water recedes, these big sinkholes are dropping. And the problem is that this is one we stopped at every year for 15 years, and the sinkhole's got it. It's gone now. You can see it's just ruins. We were looking at it last time we were there in Israel. It's just ruined, And in fact, the guy that owned this moved out of the country because he didn't have insurance. It completely bankrupted him. We used to get dressed right in that little thing. It just went straight into a sinkhole, right? So, but it's a beautiful area. The Dead Sea is a beautiful area. Interesting thing about prophecy is though. The prophecy is this, is that when the return of Messiah, when Jesus is come back, this is going to be fresh water. They're going to be catching fish in this. And that's one of the prophecies. And so, cool, huh? All right, so you got a kind of an idea of the Dead Sea. Let's go to what's really cool, Qumran and Gedi and Masada. Okay, Qumran is where that back in that corner took place. That is where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. All right, probably would not be. It'd be an interesting archaeological dig, but it really started this is the terrain right here. There was a shepherd that in the 1940s, 1947 was kind of wandering around up here, and they get bored and he's throwing rocks and there's all kinds of caves up there, and so what he was doing is right up here. Here's cave 1. That's the one that the story is told of. And this, don't let this deceive you, all right? That's a lot harder climb than you think, all right? I was really surprised on, because that's pretty steep and it's easy to lose your grip. And if you read about, every travel log is going to tell you, should I hike up to cave 1 and 2? I just looked at one today. Every one of them says, don't do it. It's unsafe. People get hurt. Well, too bad you're a wimp. All right, so, but you go up there. There's the cave, and this is what it looks like. Okay, none of this was all sealed. Okay, so what he had was, so he's going up there, and it has a little goat trail. It has a little trail that kind of zigzags up the hill, and he was just running his sheep up the hill. His sheep and goat up the hill. He's kind of following the trail, and you go right. The trail goes right past this. This is not there, but there's a little opening there. He took a rock and he threw it through that opening. Just kind of, just threw it through the opening, and he heard the sound of a jar breaking. And so he went and got his cousin. They went and crawled in this thing, and they found what became one of the most famous discoveries, and that's of the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is one of now 12 caves, originally 11 caves. There was a cave just discovered recently. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But here you have this 12 caves. Now, I would never have been able to find this. I would die out there, be a story about a fat American pastor that got, dehydrated and died up there. Except for this guy right here, his good friend. All right. And there he is. Do you know who this guy is? Okay. Joel Kramer. So Joel took us up there and took me and a couple friends up there to show us, and then tell us the story, because he's an archaeologist and now lives in Jordan. But to go inside this cave, now when they went inside this cave, they found jars, okay, and these jars were manuscripts, were scrolls that were wrapped in cloth, and because of it being so dry there, they had survived. These scrolls predated the time of Jesus, so this was a major find. Well, a long story, and I won't get into the whole thing. You can read about it. It's actually a fascinating story. They tried to sell it to an antiquity dealer in Bethlehem, and they got pennies for it. They didn't know what they had. They started realizing, the antiquity dealer started realizing what they had. They started making a bunch of money, and by the time they realized this is one of the greatest finds of our time, they were even using some of the leather to redo people's shoes, and so they had lost some. But when they began to look at all these caves that are there, there was 11 caves. There was over 50,000 fragments of scrolls, 900 complete manuscripts, and every book of the Old Testament was there, with the exception of one book was not found, and that is the book, which one? Esther, book of Esther. Ruth's sister. Wait a minute, that's not biblical, Pastor. All right, so here's inside the cave. And so they begin to look around and find, so if there's this cave, there's got to be more. Okay, what happened is that, okay, so now you got to go back to our earlier study. All right, so in 70 AD, that's when Jerusalem fell. It was Titus, Vespasian and Titus, then Titus the son, went there and taking out Jerusalem. Okay, because it was a rebel group had taken over Jerusalem. So when they came in, Vespasian came in, he came in, started to set up to take over Jerusalem. Nero killed himself. Vespasian went back, became the emperor, sent his son Titus to go in. When Titus came in, he literally slaughtered everybody. It's an army. Every town they went through, they slaughtered every town. So the word goes out to the Essenes, the people that live there, that the Romans are coming, and they are really mad, and they're killing everybody. So you get to about 68 A.D. It's a couple of years before they actually take Jerusalem. They get to this town. They get to Qumran. I'll show you the town in just a minute. This little village that they have, and they get over there. But these guys have already scattered. What they did is they knew they were coming. They took their scrolls, put them in jars, and hid them with the idea we'll probably come back later and get them. These are our precious scrolls. Now with them, again, every book of the Old Testament is there, and we're talking multiple copies, okay, of the Old Testament. We're talking about manuals of discipline. We're talking about prophecy scrolls about the sons of darkness and the sons of light and this great apocalyptic battle that's going to take place that they believed was going to happen. Okay, and so you have all these different scrolls, but the ones we're really interested in is the Bible scrolls. Okay, and then I showed you earlier where at the Israeli Museum where they have the Isaiah scroll and they have the Dead Sea Scrolls on display. But you have these different caves. And again, they started looking, cave 2. Now, one of the ways they found the caves, now, okay, so there's these pockets. This thing is just solid pockets. So there's caves all over the place. How do we know which one to go to? One of the ways they found is we know that they're coming from Qumran. You're going to be looking for trails. Well, these trails are like, from the time of Christ, a couple thousand years old. So how do we know where the trail is? A metal detector. So they take a metal detector, in their shoes that they had these little nails, and they would fall out. And so wherever you found one of those nails was probably on a path, and so you're in the right direction. And so some of the caves, that's the way they found them, with a metal detector trying to find the direction where the cave was at. Well, again, they found 11 caves. Here's one of them. This is actually a really cool. Cave 3 is really cool because they got in there and found typical jars and stuff. But they looked as they went straight in the cave. As you go in the cave, you look to the left. There was a little shelf right there, and there was the copper scrolls. There was these copper scrolls that was there. Scrolls made of copper. Right? They didn't know what to do with these things. These things are fascinating. The copper scrolls now. I don't think that anything's on display in Israel. In Jordan, they have the copper scrolls on display. And praise God, I was able to go with Dr. Randall Price. And me and him went to this, and here's the copper scrolls behind him, and was able to handle some stuff, which was very cool. And he's an author. If any of his books he's written, he used to come to the church a lot. I got to invite him back. But any books he's written is all about the temple, about archaeology. He is the guy. So I told you that there is 11 caves. Now there's 12 caves because he just found another cave of the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'll tell you, we'll hit that in just a minute. All right, so he just found another cave. So he's going to go down in history as the man that found the last cave. It's kind of anticlimactic because there wasn't a lot of great things in it. Hold on a second, we'll get to that. But here you have this copper scrolls. Now the copper scrolls, they didn't know how. It was so fragile, they didn't know how to open it. So they did what I think is probably stupid, but they didn't ask me. Is they cut them, all right? And when they cut them, then they're able to open up and see what they are. Well, let me tell you what they are. There was 12. See, here's the 4 columns. There was 12 columns worth of writing, all right? So 12 columns. I'll just read one column to you. Here's what it says. All right, the copper scrolls found with the Essenes had these. These are people that are from Jerusalem originally. Now again, understand, these are people that fled Jerusalem. They came to Qumran. They're going to flee Qumran and go up to Masada. They're trying to get away from the Romans. All right, so they're getting out of Jerusalem. They made it here. They brought scrolls with them. These guys are scrolls, but these copper scrolls come from them. Now listen to what it says. Here's just one column, and this is fun to read. In the ruins of Horbad, which is in the valley of Achor, under the steps heading eastward about 40 feet, lies a chest of silver that weighs 17 talents. In the tomb of the third section of the stones, there is 100 gold bars. 900 talents are concealed in sediment towards the upper opening at the bottom of the big cistern in the courtyard of the Perselites. Priests' garments in flax that were given as vows are buried in the hill of Kohelite. This is all of the votive offerings of the seventh treasure. The second tenth is impure. The opening is at the edge of the canal on the north side, 6 cubits towards the immersing pool. Enter into the hole of the waterproofed reservoir at Mason. Descend to the left. 40 talents of silver lies 3 cubits from the bottom. No kidding, huh? And I tell you what, there has been so many that have taken these, and these are fascinating, taken these and trying to find where this stuff is at. And to this day, they still haven't found anything. And so there's all this stuff, well, they just made this stuff up. No, it's a treasure map from what they were able to escape Jerusalem with. And they had this treasure map. What happened was, at some point, somebody already went and got all that stuff. Right? You're not going to leave, all these gold bars and silvers in there. Somebody's going to run into that. And you go, we're talking 2,000 years later, you think you're going to find it? You're not going to find this stuff, though they try. There's actually novels about this and stuff, the Copper Scrolls. Very, very interesting. All right, so again, Israel has some of the scrolls. Jordan has some. Washington, D.C. now with Steve Green with the Bible Museum, he has some of them, right? So he has a small display of the scrolls. This right here, K4, is probably one of the most, this is not, I get irritated with the tour guides. I'm friends with all these guys that we go on a tour, and if I haven't already met them and know them, a lot of the guys I've known for years, and some of them, and I change them up sometimes, some I'm meeting, but I hear them, they all say the same thing. That there was a young Bedouin shepherd he was doing his goats and he threw his rock in the thing, and this is the cave that he threw his rocks in. I said, don't do that. I was having an argument with him. I don't know how many people was on our last one where Randall Price actually popped into the bus. Anybody was there? Any guys there? This was last time. Yeah, wasn't that cool? That was a gift right there. All right, so I saw Randall there at Qumran, and I go, Randall. It was like good to see him, good friend. And so come over, talk to us about what you're finding. And so he came over, and I just had an argument with our tour guide. I said, now don't tell them that this is where the scrolls were found. I said, it's a small point. He goes, well, it's not a big deal, but this is what we always teach them and all that. I said, don't teach them wrong, though. I said, don't teach them wrong. And so I just had that argument with our guy that I love. I love this guy. He's a good friend. I love this guy. But we just had this argument with him. And then I didn't say anything to Randall. If you were there, the first thing Randall said was he went up here, we're overlooking this cave, he's looking at this cave, he says, now, some of your guides, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody, and he's looking at our guy, some of the guides would say this is where it took place. He goes, that is just, that's just not true. It did not happen here. And I'm like going, But with that beside the point, doesn't really matter. It's a minor point. The real issue is right straight across this is where the village is of Qumran. This cave was the most richest cave. This cave had 15,000 fragments, 200 different book titles in there, 122 biblical scrolls were found just in that one cave alone. So it's obvious that the bulk of the scrolls that were found right here, because this is the closest. All you got to do is run around this ridge right here, go right around, and you can get over to this thing right here in probably about 10 minutes of just a fast-paced walk. You can get over there from your village. So that's where they were. This is the number one cave where they were putting him at, right? And the problem is that this thing was buried. This thing was buried deep, up to chest high, deep in bat poop. Okay, so they had to dig all that bat poop out of there from all those years and get to those scrolls. It also is interesting because of most of the scrolls in that cave look like they had been ripped up. All right, they were little fragments all over. And it's really cool to see how they put them all together, big jigsaw puzzle. But they're ripped up. And so here's what they don't know. But here's what they'll tell you is that it could have been that the Romans went in that cave, because right there, went in there, saw them, and were ripping up the scrolls. And so because you have 15,000 fragments that are there. Okay. Now, is there any New Testament scrolls that were found? Let me say this. Almost everything's in Hebrew, but there is some Greek, very few, but there is some Greek fragments, and it's up for debate whether a small portion of the Gospel of Mark was found or not. It's up for debate. You can go there. It's a very small fragment of a Greek text that's got a line in it that you could make the case that is a New Testament scroll. Probably not, though. I don't know that I'd push it there from that little bitty piece that they found. All right, so the Dead Sea Scrolls, fascinating. The cool thing is that you can take the Hebrew Bible that is read today, that is what we have in our Bibles translated into the English, take that and take these scrolls that predate the time of Christ, and it's word for word. It's the same text, you know. And so the only differences is going to be some spelling and some word orders, but it's the same text. There is nothing between the two. So all those that would say that, look, the Bible hasn't been correctly translated and all that, the Dead Sea Scrolls knocks it out of the park. All right, you can't say that anymore. All right, and if you want to know more about this, about biblical accuracy and the manuscripts, see you Tuesday night coming up when I talk about how to study the Bible and that new study that we're getting ready to do. All right, so the Qumran community, these guys were weird, all right? These guys were there now. Now, if you go, and a lot of you guys have been to Israel, right? So when you go there, we take you in a place and you see this film where they talk about John the Baptist joining the Essenes. Anybody remember that little scene? Kind of makes you nervous because that is complete speculation. The issue, though, John would have known about these guys, and these guys would have known about John, because where John is baptizing is not far from here. All right, and they'd have known each other. I don't believe that John learned from them, and this is what he learned, and this is not at all. But I think it's interesting. But here you have a group of men that are there. They believe they're like apocalyptic group. They believe in the end of the world is coming. And so they've all clumped up here. Their main thing is they copy the scriptures, and they're very diligent on how they're copying. They're copying the scriptures, and so they're scribes. But when they come together and they're praying for this Holocaust. They're praying for we are the sons of light. You're all the sons of darkness, the sons of light. And some of their apocalyptic literature that we have shows their whole mindset in this. And this is what they're out there. They're praying to survive the apocalypse that's going to come. You think there's doomsdayers? There's always been doomsdayers, right? These were the guys that was there's guys today that have all their ammo and all their food storage and all that. They're kind of like the Essenes out there. But these guys are trying to stay connected with God. Hold on now, Jen. No, you'll throw me off. All right, so you have these guys. Now, these guys, I'll show you in a minute, where they're very into cleanliness. They're very much into cleanliness. All right, so there's a lot of mikvahs there. They are now, how do you get water out here? Hold on a second. One of the coolest rooms they found was the study room and the scriptorium, so we know where they were actually doing the copying. There's a scriptorium. So they had these water duct systems. So this is, if you watch the news in Israel, if Israel gets here's some of the water reservoirs and the mikvahs that are there. And again, you should be familiar with mikvahs now, because if you've been here, we've talked about mikvahs. But this is almost frightening, is that if it rains real heavy in Jerusalem, there's a flash flood going to come in this area. And you hear almost about every couple years, you hear about someone dying, a tourist or somebody out there dying, getting caught in one of these flash floods. Right? This thing comes and it's like a roar. Go online, you can watch some of them where people's filmed them. Right? And these things come through, and they come through fast. And it's all this water. It's a flash flood. It's all this water coming down from Jerusalem from the rain, and coming down just like a roller coaster, just coming down really fast. And it takes out, here's the street. One of the years we were there about a week after one of these, and it completely took out the street and killed there was a guy that was there. There was a pretty famous author that was there, and he was trying to get pictures for his next book of this flash flood, and it caught him up, and he got killed right there, and it took the street out. These things are really violent. But the Essenes, so this is not just from our time period. This goes back to Bible times. So the Essenes had a way of taking that water and channeling it into these pools that they had, right? And so that's what they used to go down there and cleanse themselves. They were really into, this is how I get right with God. Cleanliness is next to godliness. That's in your Bible, right? It's not, but they thought it was. Yeah, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. But so you have this, and you can see the earthquake. Now here's where the debate comes in, and I got to get off this. It's not that important. It's not that interesting either. But is when they found the cemeteries, and they found there was a couple cemeteries they found. What became difficult to understand is that these cemeteries they found. I mean, we're talking several thousand. It's spread out throughout these cemeteries that are buried there. They found women and children. Now they believe that's not from the Essene era. That's from the Bedouins that had lived there after the fact. So because there for a long time, it was like, okay, did they have women and children out here? Everything in their writing says no. Everything in their history says no. But this seems to be a contradiction right here. And then now they get there and they say, okay, but what we have groups that lived out here after that time period, the Bedouins, the shepherds that lived out here. And that's what they're saying that is, right? So if the platform Randall has done, he thought he had one of these deals. This is a funny guy. He had one of these great big old electronic thing that you drag it behind you, and it would see if there's any caves, like a sonar thing. It would see if there's any caves. And he thought he had right up on. Now, if you've been to this Qumran community, and you've stood there, and there's a bar that's there, and you're looking at the cave 4. And you're all taking pictures of that, right? Right straight behind you is where he was dragging this thing, and he said, I found a cave. It's another cave. This is not the good cave. And so he spent 4 years, I think, digging this thing out, and what he found was not that picture. He found a pot. And he found like that pot right there. You can buy that pot in the antiquity dealer. That pot, when he found it, you could buy that thing for about $300. Now it's about $3,000. Everything's gone way up. But he found $300 pot, and he found 3 coins that was not worth. That's what he found. 4 years of your life. He went from here, got a little discouraged. Went from here, went up on Mount Ararat, and there's films about him up on Mount Ararat looking for Noah's Ark. He got up there for a couple years looking for Noah's Ark. Didn't find that. If you go now, again, this is only for you. How far is that picture? Let's see. If you go back, you're standing looking at. Oh, mess this thing up. This right here. You're looking right here. I should have got a better picture of this. Okay, so you're standing here looking at this cave. This is cave 4. If you look right here, right over here, you're going to see. Now, when you were with us. You guys who were with us last time, you saw people digging up there. Anybody remember that? There was people digging up there. Go, hey, there's Randall. He's up there digging. That's the cave that they found. That's now cave 12. What they found in that cave, they found one of the jars. You can see what the jars look like back there. So they know the scrolls were held there. They found that pottery. They found fragments, but they did find a scroll, but the scroll had no writing on it. It was a blank scroll. It's like, this guy just can't win. He cannot win for losing. All right, so he wanted so bad to find another Dead Sea Scrolls. And he did find a cave. He did find one that they actually had. They had to have. This is what happened, is that the jars were there. The scrolls are gone. The Bedouins that lived there had already robbed that cave. Okay, so those already went out on the black market. It's probably the ones that Steve Green has at the collection there. So, no, that's just rude right there. That's the second time in my life that's happened. That's cool. See how rude that is? Just be mindful of that. Wasn't even that was somebody trying to sell me something. All right. Okay, so next time we'll get past this. There is some really, the Dead Sea Scrolls, there is as much information, there is so much information out there. And as much as you want to learn, you can learn about these things. All right, Hebron, there's a lot of material out there about Hebron. The Copper Scrolls, there's even a fictional story about the Copper Scrolls that are out there. It became a pretty famous novel. And so all this stuff is out there. It's just how much do you want to learn? Okay, so I'm going to move past that, but I think they are fascinating. If you want to learn a little bit, make sure you pop over there in that corner over there. You'll see what the Dead Sea Scrolls, what some of them looks like. Those are exact replicas of them. I want to say replicas. You go to prison if you have the real ones. All right, so those are exact replicas. Those jars are exact replicas of the jars. I had them custom made in there's a kibbutz group in Nazareth that made those for us. They're exact replicas. That's what they look like, right? And the scrolls, those are the small fragments of the scrolls, not the big scrolls, right? If you want to know what the big scrolls look like, out in these cases out here, you'll see some bigger scrolls that are there. Okay, so next time, we're getting really close to the end here. All right, so next time it's Qumran. We're going to get to En-Gedi, where, because of Saul using the facilities, he almost got himself killed. Do you know the story? Because he had to go to the bathroom, he almost got himself killed. It happened right there in En-Gedi. Amazing place. En-Gedi, all desert. Oasis with waterfalls. Beautiful, beautiful place. Generally, we'll take you guys, if you go to Israel with this, generally, it's all about time. Generally, we'll take you hiking there. And so how many has been hiking up to the falls of En-Gedi? Yeah, see, that's cool. Now, some of you that were with me didn't go. I'm sorry, we just didn't have enough time. All right, so we'll do that next time. And then we're going to take you to, so that's, we'll go there next time. And then we'll go to one of the most haunting places in this whole region is Masada. 976 people. I'll just tell you this. Dads had to kill their children, had to kill their spouses, had to kill themselves. 976 people went through this. There was two women and 5 children that survived to tell the story. All right, I'll tell you that story. Masada. It's like, remember the Alamo or whatever. It's over there. It's never again. This is what they say. It's never again Masada, that the Israeli army says. Many of the Israeli army are sworn in after their boot camp, are sworn in into the military at Masada. It has that important of a place for their history. Masada. Never again Masada. We'll talk about that story. And if you want to get a jump at it, there are a couple scenes that are stupid. They need to be in there. But it is a great miniseries on Masada, and it was filmed at Masada, and it tells the story accurately, except for the love story. They always got to put that in there. But what happened at Masada, you will learn from that miniseries called Masada. Okay? And I think I have somewhere around here, I have the videos that I will rent you for like $20 a day, because it's that good. All right. You'll find, I think you probably go to YouTube and see it. I'm sure you can find it somewhere out there. Masada. All right. How was that? This is fun stuff, huh? I love this stuff. This is good. All right. So next time we'll hit it. We still got to get to Lot's wife. Translated, huh? They're still, this is cool. You can help with that. Online, see, this is, okay. This is like, the Dead Sea Scrolls has so many facets that's so fascinating. So they have these scrolls, and there is a group that will not release them. There are scrolls. We're the ones translating. And then year after year after year, they're not releasing anything. There is one of the guys came in, and he got a hold of what they were working on. This is the words that is in a scroll. This is what scroll, and this is the word order. He put that on the internet. He put that out there. I don't know if it was on the internet. It was in Journal. He put that out on Journal, and now everyone can see what's on the scrolls. This group came and said, all right, fine. Fine, we'll just release them. And so now, because of our technology today, now there's entire websites that you can help, because we're talking 50,000 jigsaw puzzle pieces. Some of our little bitty pieces that go together in a big scroll. And so they have that, and you can see online, there's great high-res, every scroll has a high-res, all the ones that Israel has a high resolution to where you can see what they look like. And you can help with that. So not all of them, that's a really good question there, is because not all of them have been fully translated. They're still finding stuff. That's why when you read about, is there New Testament manuscripts, the answer is no, but they're not done. They're pretty close to done, but they're not done. And the chances on finding anything New Testament is pretty slim now. They would have found it earlier, but that's a great question right there, right? So manuscripts. And this is that's why I'm looking forward to Tuesday night, because we can slow this sucker way down and we can talk about stuff like that. Okay, question? Good. Tuesday night, 6:30 to 7:30, starting the very first Tuesday night of November. And if you come to that, I will tell you how to stay connected, because I will be there as much as I can, which is most of the time. But the ones I can't, I'll tell you how to do that. But there is a book, whether you go to it or not. The book is you can do the study on your own. It's in there. It is called How to Study the Bible. Our good friend Mark Gomez wrote that book. He's a good writer. He's the pastor of the Calvary in Wasatch Front. We've been friends for 20 plus years. He wrote that book. And so that's in the bookstore, $15. That I don't even think, I haven't seen yet, but I don't even think that's going to cover the printing on it. So don't think I'm making money on any of this stuff. What you pay for that did not pay for that book, what you guys paid. So just to let you know. All right, I'm done. This is fun, huh? Father, we love you. We praise you, Lord. Thank you for this family, Lord. Thank you for the things that we're learning, Lord, as we just rifle through these things, Lord, rambling. Lord, there's so many nuggets of truth that we have to run right by. There's so many things that are still coming out that we can learn. But Lord, give us a hunger for your word. Give us a hunger, Lord, to know more about the archaeology, geography, and what your Bible has to say to us today. Help us to be students of your word. But more than that, Lord, help us to be lovers of you, Jesus. We love you, Jesus. We love you a lot. Thank you for this family in Jesus' name. And everyone said, Amen. Amen. All right.